Okay, I seem to be live. I seem to be live and I seem to be lonely, and that's okay. If there are any nerds here, welcome. I'm really glad to be here on Astrology Nerds. And let me just figure this out. Oh, okay, hold on. There we go. All right. Welcome, Astrology Nerds. My name is Molly Gautier, and I'm here today to teach you a medical astrology technique that is kind of unusual, and it's really simple and easy. And I think that you're really going to like it. And you might not have heard of it before, so this might be totally new for you. And if so, I'm really delighted for you to learn it. My name is Molly Gautier, like I said. I live in Virginia in the United States. And of course, we are currently under a self quarantine advisory. And so we are social distancing, which is fairly easy for me because I'm an introvert. So it's not a huge sacrifice, which I know it is for a lot of you. And I know we are all kind of dealing with this in our own way, but and in a way we're all coming together too, because we're doing this to protect one another. So I really love that. Welcome, and I'm really glad you're here, and thank you for having me. I knew when I saw the name Astrology Nerds and I saw this group that I had a home, because I'm such a nerd, and maybe you are too. Like I said before, today I'm going to show you a very fun medical astrology technique. That's going to take probably 20-25 minutes. After that, I have a special offer for the nerds. I teach astrology online, and I have a special humongous discount for you guys. So you'll want to stick around and hear about that. And then if anybody's around, if anybody's watching, then I'll take specific chart requests. If you want to throw your chart up as an example, then we can certainly do that. So I'll check in on the comments and stuff every now and then. I also put a link to this Zoom meeting, and I think it's a little easier for me to see you if you were in the Zoom meeting as opposed to on the Facebook Live. But I will try to check the Facebook Live comments as well in case you don't do Zoom or whatever. Now, when I read birth charts as a medical astrologer, I've been doing medical astrology since pretty much since right before I started, not before I started doing astrology, right after I started doing astrology, just a few years after I started learning in my late 20s, I started to develop chronic migraines. And I found that watching the transits and watching the skies, I could pretty accurately predict when I would get headache and when I would be, safe to keep my plans and be okay to function in the world. So medical astrology became very useful for me in that way. And so I learned everything I could about it. And now I consider myself a medical astrologer. When I read birth charts for medical purposes, I'm looking at the conventional chart that we all know and love. I'm looking at the aspects and the houses and all of that good stuff. And I'm looking for root causes and contributing factors to illness. But with a South Nodal chart, we're looking specifically at the body itself and where a particular planetary issue might show up. I didn't realize I had my mic so far away, so I'm sorry if I sounded terrible. These charts, these South Nodal charts, I consider them about 75% accurate. It's not going to be everything. Everything's not going to resonate, but enough of it should. And more of it probably will as you grow older, and growing older means more symptoms on your body. And so if you're young and your South Node chart doesn't make sense for you now, then it might in time, because that's just the way it goes in the human body. Are you all ready to go? Let me turn on my presentation and we will get started. My reference, where I learned how to do South Nodal charts, was from this book, Astrology, Nutrition, and Health by Robert Karl Jansky. Jansky wrote this book, and it's it's a very cool framework, I think, for looking at sort of the chemistry of the body and how it metabolizes nutrients and creates tissues and stuff from an astrological perspective, and it's very enlightening for me. So, and this is where I learned how to do this South Nodal chart technique as well. Why do we do South Nodal charts? This is the way that Mr. Jansky explains it. He says that the South Node is the connection to the karmic thread of the past, and the ascendant is our point of physical incarnation, and that we incarnate from the head down. Basically, the head is the first part of us, in other words, that is born, and it is the first part to emerge into your new incarnation and into your birth chart. Of course, the birth chart is cast for the moment of your first breath in this earth. So if we create this chart and we put the South Node, we just turn everything in your chart so the South Node is on the ascendant, and then we superimpose the body over the chart as if you were a human being. You are a human being, but as if you were lying in the center of the chart with your head, the center, the crown of your head at the South Node, and the base of your feet at the North Node. And I'll show you a little bit more about how that works. I know it's a little hard to picture at first, but bear with me. And the houses represent the rest of the body. So yeah, imagine a human figure lying head up, face up on the chart with the head aligned to the South Node. So we have all the parts of the body represented by the houses in the South Nodal chart. And we just have to see how that all lines up. Now, to calculate the South Nodal chart, you would calculate your chart as you normally do. You put your birth data into your software, but you'll change one thing, and that is the house system. Now, what we want to do is put the South Node on the ascendant. In most software, it has a setting for this. You can put the sun on the ascendant, you can put the moon on the ascendant, and on through to the South Node, except a lot of software packages have the North Node, a North Node ascendant house system setting, but they don't have the South Node ascendant house system setting. So I've developed a workaround for this, and this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to switch it around. I'm just going to flip it so the head points west instead of east, and everything else follows suit. So we haven't changed anything material about the chart. We've just changed how we calculate it and how we read it, so that we can accommodate software that does not have a South Node on the ascendant setting. So if your software does not, then you'll run it with a North Node on the ascendant. And then we look at the houses, and we're going to line the houses up, and we're going to look at them in terms of the parts of the body that they rule. Now, in future slides, I have color-coded these to make them a lot easier to see. But basically, this is again, we've turned this back to the default South Node chart. But when I show you demos, I'm going to flip them to what most of our software can calculate. The head and the neck to the collarbone are the first house, which is about right here, and the 12th house, which is about right here. So any planets that are very near the South Node in your birth chart are going to end up in the first house or the 12th house of your South Nodal chart, regardless of what house they are in your regular normal birth chart. I hope that makes sense. The second house and the 11th house are going to be the chest area. It's about the collarbone to about the diaphragm. About here to about here are the second house and the 11th house. The closer a planet is to the cusp of the second house, the closer it is to the collarbone. The closer it is to the ascendant, the closer to the crown of the head. And there's a directionality too. So if you're going toward the 12th house, the planet in the 12th house is going to more likely show up on the left side of the body, and a planet in the first house is going to be on the right side of the body. And that goes for the whole southern hemisphere of the chart, the top part of the chart, and the bottom part of the chart. The 3rd and the 10th are the diaphragm, this area, to the navel. And there's a lot of guts in there. There's some ribs and a lot of digestive organs and whatnot. diaphragm of the navel, liver, digestive organs, the lumbar spine, as well as some part of the kidneys and the adrenal glands. And then if we go to the 4th house, which is over this away, and the 9th house, which is over this away, they rule the underwear part of the body, okay? The lower abdomen, sex organs, the kidneys and bladder can also be here, the sacrum and the pelvis. And then the 8th house and the 5th house govern this whole part of the leg. So it's the hip to the knee. And of course, there's a left and a right side to them. And then the 6th and 7th on this part is going to be the lower legs and the feet. And if we flip them, if we're running a north node chart, because we don't have a software that has a south node on it, and this is totally easy to do, but you need to turn your person around so that the south node is at the head. So we're just going to read it a little backwards. 6 and 7 is the head, 5 and 8 is the chest and the arms, 4 and 9 is the midsection, 3 and 10 is the lower abdomen, 2 and 11 is the thighs, the knee, and the 1st house and the 12th house are the lower legs and the feet. To do this on your software, I've given you instructions for SolarFire and for AstroGold. And any other software, just look at your list of options for the house systems, and you will know pretty quickly if there's a node on the first setting or a south node on the first setting. SolarFire actually will do south node on the first in version 9, but my version 8 does not have it. AstroGold does not have south node on the first, but they do have north node on the first. So most software will do north node on the first. Some will do south node on the first. But here's the workaround in case you do not have a software that can do it. And again, I've put the head region in red just to make it a little easier to read. And then here's this is going to be the 6th and 7th. This is going to be the 8th and the 5th, the 4th and the 9th, 3rd and 10th, 2nd and 11th, and for 12th and 1st. And of course, this time, the left side of the body is going to be the lower half of the chart, and the right side of the body is going to be the upper half of the chart. So I hope that makes sense. We're setting the stage here, and then we're going to put the planets in, and that's where we really do the interpretation part. So the sun, whatever house the sun is in your nodal chart, is where you are most expressive, where your body language, whether you're conscious or unconscious of it, you use a lot of body language. So if the sun falls in the 8th or the 5th in your turned north nodal chart, then your hands and arms would be the most expressive. If you have them in the 1st or the 12th where the feet are, then maybe you tap your feet when, it would be like your poker tail in a way. So it can be something other people notice about you. It's where you shine, and using this part of your body in some way might be really important to your profession. Jansky also notes in the book that in his clients whose fathers have died, of course the sun rules the father, this part of their father's body was involved in their cause of death. So for what that's worth. The moon is a part of you that attracts attention for whatever reason, whether it's health reasons or cosmetic reasons. It is how we reach out to other people emotionally, a part of our body we use when we express ourselves emotionally. You may be sensitive to pain here, and you may accumulate fluid in this area. Wherever Mercury is where nervous issues may affect you, and it can be a part that you think about a lot or worry about a lot. The Venus area can be very sensitive to touch, and touch can be especially pleasurable in this region. Now, when I put little carrots around, that's an idea that came from my mind and not the book. And because I'm a nutrition therapist, something I neglected to tell you all, I got into medical astrology for a long time, and then I felt like I didn't understand it as much as I wanted to. So I went to a holistic nutrition school and got some education. And I have theorized that the Venus part is a part that is most affected by excess sugar consumption as well. Mars in the nodal chart can be where you're prone to injuries and inflammation and accidents. It can be where you have scars. It can be an area that's very muscularly developed because you exercise it a lot, move it a lot. And the more hard aspects you have to your Mars in your birth chart, the more accidents are possible for you or likely for you. So if you have a really poorly aspected Mars, then you might have more going on in your Mars part than someone who has a pretty easygoing, easy Mars. Jupiter. Jupiter rules fat in the body. And so this can be where you accumulate body fat. It can be a part that is very large or that seems to grow in some way. Jupiter is a protector in medical astrology. There's a body fat is there to protect us. And Jupiter has rulership over a lot of other protective functions in the body, like the action of the liver, for example. Jupiter can protect this part of your body from harm, but if a disease process sets in there, then Jupiter can kind of magnify and exaggerate the problem and make it worse. This can be an area that's prone to overuse, and it may also be metabolically overactive. For example, if Jupiter was close to the neck part of the chart, close to the second or the what do we got, the 8th house cusp or the 6th house cusp. Those would be the parts closest to the collarbone and the thyroid. So that could potentially point to an overactive thyroid. Saturn can be an area that is small or thin or underdeveloped. It can be an area that underfunctions or functions slowly or gets a blockage in it or some thing like that. It can be a place where you tend to grow hair. It can be where, if you're going to get arthritis in your life, it can be where the arthritis begins or where it's most severe. And it can be a place where, of course, Saturn rules bones and blockages and stoppages. It can be a place where you get a bone spur or a fluid blockage of some kind. Uranus is a place that maybe has a mind of its own. Uranus rules the autonomic functions of the body, the breathing, the heart rate, the pulse, stuff like that. And where Uranus is located in your chart, it can be a place that's kind of so electrically active that it is out of sync or does not coordinate with the rest of the body, and that may contribute to accidents or health problems of some kind. It may be a place where you've been impacted by trauma as well. In my chart, Uranus is in the 9th house, which is kind of the abdomen, and I've had like terrible hiccups periodically my whole life. It's like very, very embarrassing, especially when I was in school, because I mean they were so loud, and even now I get them and I hate it, and my husband just laughs at me. I get terrible hiccups, and that's my Uranus placement. In my South Nodal chart, it can be a place where you have a nervous tick or a twitch or a spasm. Like a hiccup is a kind of a diaphragmatic spasm. Jansky notes that Uranus in the 5th or the 8th house, which is the orange sector, can give you healing hands, and Uranus in the 6th or the 7th can give you intuition. And of course, I've turned that. That's using the turned chart. Neptune, a place you're out of touch with, a place where you might numb out a bit and the pain is less severe. And that way, if there's a problem there, you might overlook it or not want to deal with it in the fashion of Neptune's escapist tendencies. Diagnosis here can be difficult. It can be something that is not really recognized by the mainstream because it's out of the realm. Toxins a lot of time operate that way. The the conventional medicine these days really does not understand the role of toxins and how prevalent they are and how much they are impacting our health. So if you have a problem and it's because of toxins, and you go looking for a diagnosis, it's probably going to get diagnosed as something else. And a lot of diagnoses these days are just a description of your symptoms in Latin, and that is what it is. But a lot of times the root cause is actually some sort of toxicity. Subtle remedies can be really helpful wherever you have Neptune. By subtle, I mean things like flower essences, homeopathy, things that work on a more energetic level that is, kind of mysterious in a way. Neptune also has a connection to the lymphatic system. So wherever Neptune is in your nodal chart can be where your lymphatic system gets stuck. Neptune also connects with autoimmune illnesses and allergies. And finally, Pluto. Pluto disorders tend to be genetic in nature. It can be where cell replication can occur, so you get a growth, either benign or malignant. Pluto can also represent having a mole or a birthmark somewhere. And also, because my husband he works with past lives and does past life regressions with people. And he finds that a lot of times what killed you in a past life or what traumatized you in a past life can leave a birthmark in this lifetime, which is, I think, very interesting. Chiron, I added myself because it's not in the book, but I'm theorizing that Chiron is a place where you've been wounded or damaged, and it is also a physiological key. Like attending to this part, taking care of it, figuring it out is a key to your journey back to wholeness in this lifetime. If a planet is retrograde in your nodal chart, then it primarily affects the back of your body. If it's direct, it primarily affects the front. Now, all of these houses, we've got like the head level and the chest level and all of these. The main idea of the South Nodal chart is whatever it is happening to that part of the body, but often there is a sidedness to it. But sometimes it could be the whole shoulder girdle, for example, or pelvis, or it can be both hips. But usually there's a sidedness to it. All right, cool, you guys. So let me just throw a chart up so you can see an example of how the South Node chart works. Let's see. I guess I'll just use mine, you guys. Here's the North Node. Here's the South Node. So, of course, we know that we're looking at head facing this way, feet facing this way. And we are expecting this chart to be about 75% correct, right? We're not expecting 100%, but it's pretty good. It's pretty good. Now, I have chronic migraines. They used to be worse when I was in my 30s, but now I'm in my 40s and I've done a lot of healing and I don't have headaches that bad anymore. But I always felt like the moon is where you accumulate fluid, and I always felt like, oh my God, I just realized I didn't share my screen with you guys and you can't see this chart I'm looking at. Hold on. Okay, my chart. South Node, North Node. So here's my head. Here's my head to the neck. These two houses. There's the moon in my house of the head. And of course, the moon is a part that attracts attention. And yes, my head does attract my attention. Do I reach out to others emotionally with my head? Probably. Definitely sensitive to pain. Definitely have had some issues with excess fluid, needing to drain cerebrospinal fluid, kind of getting stuck in there. So that one definitely works. The sun is my body language area, and it's kind of in my butt zone. So I just don't know what that means, and I'm just going to leave it at that. Mercury is nervous issues that could affect this region, a part that you worry about a lot. That might be part of the 75% that I don't totally get, because that, again, would be the back of my body. It might be my butt. And you know what? I did, a few years ago, I fell on my sacrum. I sat on a chair that was not there, and I fell down to the ground and I landed on my sacrum on the right side. This one's on the left side, so it's not a total hit, but it's still pretty good. It's the back of the body because Mercury is retrograde. And after that happened, my vision started to decline. So that's really interesting, and maybe that has something to do with that. Venus would be a part that's sensitive to touch. This would be the abdomen, the kind of middle abdomen. Yeah, I mean, that is a very sensitive area, and the right kind of touch there can be really nice. And I just have to think about the sugar connection with that. Mars is where you're most prone to an injury or an accident, and that too can be the sort of lumbar spine there, the midsection, and I'd have to think about that too. I do have kind of in that area, I have a real wonky rib. It's on my left side, right about near this Venus Mars area, so that's kind of interesting too. Yeah, and my liver too. I've had some liver issues. I had a really serious chronic toxicity problem, and so I had to baby my liver quite a bit to get my health back and be able to function again. This one's really interesting. These two here are going to be the chest, the arms, and the hands. And here's where I have Saturn. Saturn is where arthritis shows up. Like the earliest, or if you're going to be arthritic, which kind of runs in my family, that would be where the arthritis would be the most apparent. And I have Saturn in Gemini, the sign of the hands, and I also have it in the house of the hands in the nodal chart. So I got to enjoy my nice hands while I can. And I have had some issues of pain in my fingers already. I'm only in my 40s. And I told you about the Uranus connection to my hiccups before. I've got this Pluto thing. Don't know of any growths in that area, but it's something that I'll keep an eye on. Jupiter's over here in the feet. Do I have big feet? No. Do I have metabolically overactive feet? Not really. Do I have an accumulation of body fat? I do have fat ankles. So maybe that has to do, and I have big calves. I've always had a problem finding, like, if you ever go shopping for boots, finding boots that fit over your big calves can be an issue. So that one kind of makes sense too. That one's a check. So I've got check marks. I've probably got a good 75%, 80% on this. Well, I'm going to check one more time for attendees and questions, and if I don't see any, I will bid you all farewell. Got it. Okay. All right, folks. Well, it sure has been fun going live for you guys. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope that maybe some people, if they didn't see it right now, will see it later. I haven't quite figured out the timing on Astrology Nerds and when is the best time to go live. Maybe I just botched it today. But anyway, I hope everyone is having a great St. Patty's Day and staying healthy and doing what you need to do, keeping your social distance and taking care of your fellow humans. I wish you all the best and have a wonderful week. Bye. Thank you. Okay, so that's my presentation, and it looks like I'm right on time. So I have a quick promotion, and then I'll check and see if anybody's watching, and if not, I'll go home and cry. No, I am home, but so I'll just turn it off and cry. No, I'm just kidding, you guys. But if somebody's on, I'll take some questions. Now, what I've created here is a visualization of the process of learning astrology. What we're going to do is start at C, and we're going to work our way up to R at the top, and it's going to spell the word clear. Now, if you are a member of Astrology Nerds, then you probably already have C pretty much handled. You know the basic signs and symbols in astrology, and you're able to kind of put them together and read a chart. You know what Venus and Taurus is, or at least you know how to look it up. And everything else in astrology builds on these basic core symbols. And each one of these symbols has entire volumes of material written on it. That thick. If it's Pluto, it's like that thick. You don't have to know them that deeply to begin working your way up the pyramid, but expect that you'll always come back and revisit these core concepts and build your knowledge of them. The next letter is L, and L stands for the links and layers. And to me, that's where you start learning the grammar of astrology. The C level is kind of the basic vocabulary of astrology, and the L is where you're getting into the grammar. You're putting the planets into their signs and into their houses, and you're starting to link them together into aspects, which are really, in my view, the guts of the birth chart. This is where you really, really see people tick. The E level is the essence. This is where the problem with the L level is that people get, once you get into the L level, you realize that the chart has a lot of information in it. A lot of information. And you can start to get confused because what direction do you take it? What do you focus on? What's the essence of the chart? And that's what I teach at the E level. Here is where you recognize and pull out the core, most essential messages of the chart so that you can engage with the chart in kind of a systematic way. But and once you have the E level down, then all those confusing details start to make more sense because you have created the structure of the chart in your mind, and now you have context that you can put everything in, and it's not like you're just trying to figure out how to do something with this massive information. You've got the story, and now all this massive information is just helping you tell the story. So that's where E level is where you put it together, and that's where astrology gets easier. And learning the E makes everything else easier. It allows you to practice the A, the application of your skills. This is where you apply your skills and practice the art of chart interpretation. Today, the South Nodal chart is a peek at one of my A-level courses. It's just a little bite of one of my A-level courses on my website. And then finally, the R level is where we all want to get to, and that's rocking out. Rock out is where you get to do the really fun stuff in astrology. Once you have the fundamentals, that gives you the basis you need to do the rock out stuff. Once you can dive into the core of the birth chart and pick out the most important features, that makes you better at medical astrology, karmic astrology, psychological astrology, and any other branches of astrology that you want to pursue. It makes you better at forecasting, makes you better at relationships. It makes you better at electional date picking and other advanced topics too. This is where you've learned the language of astrology, and now you're having conversations, you're writing songs, you're translating it for other people. It's fun, and it can be profitable as well. If you're my ideal student for my kind of entry-level course, here is where you are. You've got C pretty much in the bag. You understand the core concepts, the signs and the planets pretty well, and you know how to run a chart. And you know the basic, you know your way around a chart on a basic level. You know what the houses mean, you know what the planets and the signs mean. You've started working on your L level. You're reading aspects and the links between the chart, but you haven't quite got it all in the bag. You're still kind of not feeling like you have it down cold, but you've got it pretty good. You're getting there. You're good at looking things up in books and other resources, and you're working on building your A, but you have a sense that something is missing, and that's the E, and that is not in your pyramid really. It's missing, and you're not quite sure how to get it. So it's over there. And that's your basis for the A and the R, so they're not really fitting on there anyway. You want to apply your skills, you want to rock out, but you're frustrated, and this picture is telling you why. The biggest question that my students come in with is, how do I get to what's most important in the chart? And that's the E piece that sets you up for the higher levels and to be a really fabulous interpreter of charts. Now, I have a chart. I have blah, blah, blah. Start over. I have a course. It's called Birth Chart Clarity. It's an on-demand course. It has videos kind of like this. It starts you at the L level and it helps you get up the pyramid so that you can do the fun stuff that you want to. I have my first master class in Birth Chart Clarity, teaches you about aspects. It's going to get you really, really solid on aspects so you can spot them on site. Lots of opportunities to master and practice your aspects. The second masterclass is the E level. It gets you to the essence of the chart using a step-by-step process that you can totally learn and contains, again, plenty of examples. The course includes 5 hours of video instruction. A 45-minute mentoring session is included that you can set up where we can meet one-on-one and you can get your questions answered. You can bring up your chart, whatever you want to do. It's totally up to you. And it also includes an optional teacher-graded open book exam that you can do or not. And lots of great downloads like worksheets and flashcards and handouts and stuff. You'll also have access to my private Facebook group. And so I hope that you're interested in that. The pyramid here is an imperfect symbol for what I'm doing because it narrows at the top. And what really happens is your possibilities expand after the E level as you move up the pyramid. I have 3 A-level courses available now. One psychological astrology, I have a karmic astrology, and a medical astrology course, and more R-level classes planned for the future. And I have a deal because I understand that due to our circumstances, a worldwide viral pandemic, a lot of us are home. Unless we work in the medical field or we have an essential job, a lot of us have been furloughed. We are at home and have a lot of extra time, but not a lot of extra cash. And I understand that. So I've created this deal for you. My Birth Chart Clarity course is regularly priced at $297. And it's currently advertised on my website for $197. But I created a secret sale just for astrology nerds that prices it at $97. So I wanted to make it affordable and doable, hopefully, for whoever wants to. And here's where you get it. Just type this into your browser and you'll get taken to the page for the secret sale. And you'll unlock my insane discount on Birth Chart Clarity. I'm limiting the sale to 12 purchases. Once those are done, the sale automatically closes and it's over. But I don't even know if anybody's here, so we'll see what happens. If all 12 slots fill up and I get 12 wonderful nerds in my class, I will open up a couple of group meetings on Zoom. And we can go over course material. We can look at your charts. We can answer questions, look at examples. And if the course isn't for you, I have some free stuff on my website that you can grab anytime. My website is mollysastrology.com. I have a beginner course on there, Astrology for Beginners. It's totally free. You can go there and sign up now. I might charge for it in the near future, but for now it's free, so hurry. And I also have a workbook about how to schedule your self-care activities according to the sign that the moon is in.